Welcome to part 5 of my large oil painting where I'm trying to add depth. I mentioned this in the beginning of each of my videos in this series, but basically all I'm trying to achieve with this one is have a few aspects that have some realistic shading and shadows to kind of give it more of a three-dimensional feel. So not all of them are going to be consistent as if you're looking at the painting from one angle. I do want to kind of make it interesting and kind of chaotic, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit, but I really want to make sure there's a few spots where you can really tell that the depth is there. At this stage of the painting, I have a lot of the kind of sections done and colored in, but I'm going through and doing the small little areas that don't have any color. Sometimes this part of the painting is tough because a lot of the colors are used in that same area and you kind of run out of options, but for this one, because I used so many different blended colors and shades and some of the depth that I'm creating used kind of darker lines, it's not too much of a problem. This area up top, there was a bit because I had like 4 different colors, so I'm using a lot of the orange and yellow up there. So when that happens, I usually just add another line or a doodle to create another section, and I can do a bunch of different colors so it doesn't clash. But I like how it's looking so far. At this point of the painting, even when all the canvas is painted, I usually am about just over halfway, maybe 2/3, because I have a lot of other kind of textures and doodles and a lot of these large shapes. I'm still going to either create a face or some other type of scene inside of it. So there's still a lot to go and a lot of touch-ups on the shading just to create that depth that I want. I feel like adding depth to a painting is kind of the next step for me to kind of take it to another level. I think I have been able to figure out how the oil paint works for the most part on a very kind of beginner level. But I think this kind of shadows and shading and creating the 3D aspects, especially with my kind of trippy abstract style, will be able to take it to kind of that next step in the sense of when someone looks at the painting, I know where they're going to look, and I want that to be in the next few months where my paintings are at. I want to create a painting with a plan in the sense of I want someone's eyes to go to one part of the painting at the beginning, and I feel like that a lot of that is created with the shading and the colors and it's kind of the coloring that you use to create that. And this painting has been a lot of fun because I've been able to kind of learn how to create more of that 3D style. Obviously, there's going to be some areas that don't really have that feel, and I wanted to have it, but I'm just hoping for a few that really achieve that. And kind of learning how different colors work. I thought it was kind of interesting how the purple, instead of adding, darker, I just added light, and it was giving it that shadow. And now I'm doing a face in this blue square. I wanted something to go in this, and I don't know if I'm going to add the depth to it. Maybe I'll do a little bit of kind of shading on the clouds, but yeah, kind of like I was saying, just learning a lot by kind of trial and error and seeing what works and doesn't. And the beauty about these oil paints is you can correct a mistake or make it darker or lighter. If you made it too dark, brighten it up. And they're kind of forgiving in that sense. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how this one turns out and how different it looks when it's done to now, where I'm at a point where all of the canvas is almost covered. I have a lot of extra little details and textures that I want to do. And it's kind of interesting, especially when you film it and look back on the process, how much of a difference that makes. I do want to make sure that for this one, I don't have too many to the point where the depth that I'm trying to create gets lost. So I think this one will have a very fine balance of being too busy and having the right amount of open space to be able to create the 3D aspects in the doodles that I'm making. But there are a few sections that I know, especially with white and some of the darker background colors, that would look good with even just a little bit of texture before I go back and do more of the shading. So at this part of the painting, I'm doing some more little parts of white, and some of them are highlights to kind of create that depth, and some of them are just little doodles. I like to use the contrast between light and dark colors, especially on top of one area that I find maybe has 4 or 5 dark colors kind of close to each other. And it's kind of nice to do little doodles that really stand out. And I like doing that in either pink, yellow, or white. And now I'm going through and doing some black. So I'm going and doing a little bit of shading as I do the lines and just kind of making some more areas a little crisp, as well as doing some more doodles. So I definitely want to add some more little doodles and designs within some of these open areas without making it too busy. I find if I don't add more doodles though, I usually just do texturing in those open areas, and I've had some paintings where there's just too much texture and not enough actual little designs or shapes or faces, and I want to stay away from that. So making sure that the areas that I sectioned out aren't too large, and making sure that if there are a lot of blank spots, I have other aspects of the painting to fill them up. In a lot of my paintings before, I would only stick to one section of color for a doodle and try to make it fit within it, but lately I've been trying to really branch out and have it where one section or even part of another kind of piece of the painting can mesh into another small or large doodle. So with this one, I'm doing a lot of that, where maybe one part of a face will create a second part of another face, and doing some where there's one section of color and another one beside it, but I have an eye in one of the different sections. So I find that kind of looks cooler, and I'm able to do larger doodles in this stage of the painting, where usually I just do small little ones to fill in space. But I'm really trying to make sure that everything's more intentional with this one. I like doing little windows in the buildings. I find it kind of creates more to look at. And I like doing little lines on the roads, and even little things like in this shape, just having some lines that contrast the colors well, just to give someone more to look at when they look at that part of the painting. And I always like to do some obvious faces, but some ones that you could look at the painting 20 times and not see. Then you finally see it after a while. So it's kind of fun to be able to do these and kind of turn them into a bit of a puzzle. And this part of the painting is a lot of fun because I get to kind of see how it's coming together and add more parts to aspects that I might have planned out a long time ago, or ones that are completely unplanned, and just see how it looks. At this point of the painting, I really like how some of the faces and shapes and aspects are coming together. But one thing I really wanted to make sure I'm doing is make sure I'm focusing on the main kind of challenge of this painting with the depth. So I noticed it as I was doing some of these smaller details that I might be kind of washing out some of the depth that I was trying to do. So I'm gonna really make sure that when I go and do my lining, I go through and try and put those shadows on every single shape and line that I see. Even if it seems excessive, I want to try to do it on every single part. And even if that's just a single brush stroke, just to make the shade change very, very slightly, I think it would be kind of interesting to see how all those little details come together. I said I really wanted to focus on depth for this one, so I think it's important that I do that and see. There's going to be some spots that I really don't like, or maybe it just looks completely different to what I thought, or it completely changes the shape. But I do want to try. There's been a few times where I'm doing a shape, and even as I'm doing the first little bit of it, get some darker paint on the brush, and I just kind of, with that one brush, just kind of keep painting, and I don't even get new paint, and sometimes it actually looks exactly how I want it. So I think some of it's just kind of embracing it and just blending it and seeing how it looks. So yeah, that'll definitely be kind of the priority in the next bit of the painting, is just making sure I'm getting that dimensional feel. Now I'm going through with some of this darker blue color. I did a few different shades of blue throughout the painting so far, but this one I'm just using not being blended, other than when I go over it for the shading. And sometimes I really like that dark blue. I find you have to use a very small amount of it, or else depending on what color you're using it on, it can kind of just look like black. So sometimes I'll add a tiny bit of white as I'm doing the shading, but not as kind of a blended color, but just to give a bit of that blue kind of look to it. And yeah, I like to do some shapes and faces off the side of the painting. I like it that the whole goal of my paintings are, I want it to be where you don't need to frame it. So if someone just has it on their wall, they can most of the time not be looking at it straight on, and you can kind of see the painting wrap around. So I think that's kind of a fun way of doing it, and it's kind of cool because if I run out of space, I can just kind of keep it going. So that's something I just started doing recently. Some paintings I did it where I just added some colors, but I like doing it where it's like a full painting and little details on the side as well. So now I'm still going through and doing some of these smaller details. What I do is I put a little bit of oil paint out on my palette, and I make sure, no matter how much I do, that I use all of it. And it's kind of nice because it forces me to find other spots where a color might work. So it's been enjoyable doing it that way, because I get to kind of try out different colors and maybe use one color that I don't usually use a lot more. And it kind of just challenges me to be more creative with how I use it throughout the painting. So I'm going to end this part here. I'll probably have another 1 or 2 parts left for this painting. So thank you for watching, and I'll post the next part soon.